A child dies in government custody after a court orders that the state must release the child to its foster parents. So who is really obeying the law? Who is disobeying the law? Today I'm speaking with Professor Solomon Musa Tarfa, a social worker and orphanage operator, who says his centers in Kano and Kaduna were shut down. He was jailed and the Court of Appeal discharged and acquitted him. Yet the case did not end there. He alleges that despite a consent judgment ordering the release of the children, the Kano State government has continued to hold them, while legal battles shifts between the High Court and the Juvenile Court and arguments over power, religious pressure, and attempt to Islamize children who are originally Christians. This interview traces the timeline from arrest to prison to court orders, allegedly ignored, right up to the most explosive development, the state withdrawing a case about burying the deceased child Islamically, while other children still remain in custody. Watch closely. This isn't just a personal story. It raises questions about rights, due process, state power, and what happens when institutions refuse to obey the law and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Once again, we are discussing with Professor Solomon Musa Tarfa. I'm sure you've heard about him, the man who went to jail because of the orphanages that he has that were closed in Kaduna and Kano. And the case went up to the Court of Appeal, I think, where he was discharged and acquitted. But he has not left the news. He's still in the news because only recently there were reports that the Kano State government had refused to release the other children, orphans, that were seized from him, in spite of the fact that a valid court, a high court, issued an order to that effect, giving the consent judgment that followed their appeal by the Kano State government. Of course, recently, we read the story that one of the kids which the Kano State government had refused to release had died in the custody of the state government. And there are reports that the state government is still planning or working on having the kid buried according to Muslim rites. With me is Dr. Professor Solomon Musa Tarfa. Prof, you are welcome. Now, Prof, what is the current situation about the kid who died in the custody of the Kano State government? What is the situation now?
Actually, you are aware that our lawyer and my brother, who represented us in Kano as at yesterday, told us, sent a message through WhatsApp that Kano State government have withdrawn the case they filed against us that they will bury the child Islamically.
Okay, that is some kind of good news then.
Yes.
Okay, so what is the situation about the other children that the Kano State government is still keeping? What is it? Or have they informed you that they want to release them to you, or what is the situation?
Okay, if you recall, the previous time we were in High Court 12, they kept adjourning the case. I think this should be the third time, for the 24th time. But as at last November till 27th of January, it has been adjourned 2 times. So the third one will be March. We'll be sitting with them on the March 20 in the High Court. And the present one they filed against the death of David is in juvenile court. So we have 2 sittings.
So what is the Kano State government saying in the court there? What are you the one that sued them, or they're the one that sued you?
They are the one that sued this last one in juvenile court. That since David, the body is in a mortuary waiting for autopsy. So the AKTH, the teaching hospital, have not given the result. Before that will be done, the Attorney General have written a letter that David be taken to hospital to check the cause of death. And he filed a case against us that they will not release David, that if the autopsy is done, the dead body should be given to them for them to bury Islamically. That was the last we had before they withdrew the case in the court yesterday. But that of the High Court, the last judgment we had was that they were asked to release the 12 children to us. That's a consent judgment, which they violated. So after that, our lawyer, I think, filed a case against them for contempt of court. We've not been able to sit on that. I'm very much sure that the judge, if he's not actually with them, he should have allowed us to sit so that our case concerning the consent judgment will be.
Okay, now let's take a step back. How did we arrive at the situation that your children? Can you narrate to us how come your children are with the Kano State government? What happened?
Actually,
Start from the beginning.
Yes, actually, on 25th December, that's not even where it started. It started as far back as 2002. We were in the parlor. I and my wife were actually dressing the children to go to school, the young ones. Just as we were doing that, I was a knock on the door. The police came in with plain clothes and shouted, "Court," in our sitting room. And, they pronounced judgment against us. And so my wife challenged, what authority do they have without a lawyer for them to come and be harassing us in the house? And I think they charge her for, I don't know, for contempt of what. It was around $400 or $200 at the time, £200 at the time. Instead of charging her in naira, they charged her in pounds. And after that said and done, we were taken to prison with her in Gorunduse, where she was kept in the female section and I was in the male section. And you won't believe me, sir, that one of the little babies with her had a pile. And that baby was thrown. Oh, the baby was brought to us not quite long. The baby was sick. The prison did not allow us permission to treat the child. When we were released after our board of trustees have been able to locate us, they've gone to different prisons, different police stations to check for us. They didn't see us until they came to Kurmawa. The people were telling them we were not there. It was later that the lawyer, Barrister Oibi Ofyong San, said, "No, I have to see the manifest of the prison. I will know whether they're in." And when they gave him, he saw our names. That was how we were bailed that day, and we came out. We took the child to the hospital. Not up to a week from our release, the child died due to the lack of treatment in the prison. And we battled it with them. That brought about Christian solidarity worldwide. When Baroness Caroline Cox was the chairperson at the time, she came in with Trinity Broadcasting Corporation. We had quite a long time with them, with interviews and so on. And before you know it, the Emir of Kano came into the case. And then we had the AIG of police, Duderi. He's late now. His last session before he died was Bauchi. So he came to us and called us that the emir want to see us. So I and my wife were driven down to the emir's. He was not there. He went, I think, for one of the emirate meetings. So we're able to see his brother, who is the assistant, and is among the emirate council. He was also, at the time, a commissioner of police retired. So we're able to meet with him, and we chatted in his bedroom. And he said everything will be okay. We shouldn't bother. Not quite long. I think after he had some audience with our lawyer and so on, we're able to talk with them in the court. That's our lawyer, Barrister Oibi Ofyong. The person actually handling our matter that even took us there was the cousin of the emir. You won't believe it, Abdullahi Bayaru. And one other of his brother was the one that was set to acquit us from the case. That was the work of the emir. And by the grace of God, we came out in 2002. I'll not forget the things we passed through. You won't believe that we were kept in a cell in a police station, in one of the small courts.
What were you charged for? What were you charged for in that 2002? What was the charge? When they came into your house, what were they accusing you of?
They charged us that we are running a Christian home in an Islamic state without permission. That was the charge.
Okay, how did the case end? The court, was it a normal court that came to you, or it was a Sharia court that came? How did the court come into your parlor?
Yeah, it was a magistrate court. It's
a
mobile court. It's a mobile court. Then they took us to magistrate. From magistrate to the high court. That was where we were acquitted and dismissed by the cousin of the emir. He's late now, a judge. And they were told to pay compensation, to return our money, which up to today, they have not returned the money. The one they collected from my wife.
How much was the money that they collected from you?
I think my wife said 30,000. Is it 40,000? Each of us. Yes, 40,000. They have not returned. That was in 2002. They have not returned it. And the children that were taken, like they took these current ones, they took some children there. The children stayed long there. After 3 months, the children were released to us.
How many of them then?
They were about 3. 2 of them are married now. I think one have about 4 children, one have 3 children. Then with one of the daughters of the one that was married, it was a teenage pregnancy case. So they were released.
Okay.
But you won't believe that there was no compensation because our house was locked. You have to, a board of trustees had to take us to his house to stay all through the 3 months. So everything in the fridge, including meat, including tomatoes, whatever, they perished. So it was when we were acquitted, we were given the key of the house and we were able to enter. Initially, they sealed it.
So for the 3 months that you were in prison, your house was sealed by the court?
No, that very day that we were in prison, our trustee was able to remove us that day. 2 days.
Okay.
But when we came
All right.
back, the house was sealed by the court.
Sealed by who? By court?
By the court, yes. You know, they brought Black Maria to our house. It was a judgment they gave immediately, and they had to take us in Black Maria to the prison.
Okay. Did they give you the papers of the conviction?
Yeah, yes. It was given to us.
And the charge against you
No, you mean
was
the papers
that you were
that
running
they
a
accused
Christian...
of? It was not given to us. It was that of the judgment that the court, our own lawyer gave to us.
Okay, so when they came to your house, there was no lawyer. They just charged and convicted you on the spot.
Yes, that was why my wife challenged them, that they have no right to charge us without our lawyers being present. So they fined her and fined me
for challenging them.
Interrupting. Yeah.
Okay, what happened thereafter? After 2002, what happened?
After 2000, we were relaxed and we moved to one of our trustees moved us to a bigger property. That's in no man's land. We are formerly in Freetown, Sabongari. So he took us to no man's land, and there we were about 5 meters from his hospital, where all the children goes for free treatment. He pays scholarships for their school and many other partners. So we are okay for years before we opened the Kaduna Center. And in 2019, some of the children were in Kaduna, in the Kaduna orphanage. Some have gone to church. Some have closed. So others went for programs. My wife and some of the bigger girls were preparing Christmas food, prime meat, and cooking rice, while some of us in the parlor of the kids were watching TV. Lo and behold, we had a knock on the door on the 25th December 2019. And who will see our police in different departments? Anti-robbery, the Andaba police, they are there. There are so many with cameramen and cars lined up on our street. You will see a lot of people gathered. It was when they brought all of us out. So when they knocked the door, I was able to recognize the Assistant Commissioner of Police that came in. Long ago, I knew him in Kaduna. Because my elder brother happened to be the former commandant of the Nigerian Police Kaduna and the Commissioner of Police in Kwara and in Kaduna. So he knows him very well. They are close. So when he saw me, we began to laugh. I thought it's a good thing. He said the Commissioner of Police Kano State want to see me and all the children that we have. We thought they came for Christmas celebration with us to bless the children. Lo and behold, they took all of us in their police truck with the kids. I didn't even know. They took me and shut me up in the cell. While the kids were kept in a room that has no door, no window, they didn't give the children food from that moment they came in till daybreak. The children were crying, very little, from 3 years old to about 16. I didn't even know.
How many children in all?
At the time, they took 19 children from Kano. Others were not at home. Yes, so they only got 19. They left my wife.
And then Kaduna?
Yeah, they went to Kaduna. Already, my wife's sister happened to work with NTI. She's the manager in charge of the teachers' radio. So she got the wind of what was happening and made some of the children leave. They went and stayed with some of the neighbors. So only 8 remained because they made a promise to me that they are not going to pick any child from there. They are policemen and NAP people. So when we went to Kaduna,
that is the Nigerian
National
Government Organization
Agency for the Prohibition
Child Trafficking.
They are in charge of child trafficking and other related matters. So we went to the police headquarters. You know, before you can cross over a border and go to another different state to arrest and make any charges, you have to see the commissioner there. So they exchanged papers with what was given by the Commissioner of Police, Kano State, to the commissioner. We waited up to about 3 hours there. Initially, they handcuffed me, but one of the police officers said, no, they need to release me. So I was released and I sat down till Kaduna. So I went to the house, jovial. We met my sister's husband and herself with the children as if they would press. They didn't know.
Okay, let me get that straight. So they arrested you in Kano and then drove you
Yes,
to
I was
Kaduna.
arrested in Kano. I was jailed on the third, I think on the 41st day. I was taken out to Kaduna with some police, armed police, with naptip for them to go and see the house in Kaduna.
Okay, go ahead.
Their purpose of going to Kaduna is also to carry away the children that are there, just like Kano. So when they went there, they've made promise to me that they're not going to pick any children. So while they were there and talking and went in, they took the computers that had all our files and other things inside. The UPS named them some of the files. They took that as exhibit, and they brought the children that were there around. They got only 8. Some were not actually there because like I told you, they took them out. While NTA was filming, they didn't know that NTA was filming them because my wife and my wife's sister called them to do that in privacy. And when they did that, they took us to the Ministry of Women Affairs, Kaduna State. That's where they keep children. And we did a lot of, I think they gave them money. We did some things there. We wasted again another 2 hours. So we left Kaduna around 8 o'clock in the evening. You won't believe it. These children have not eaten. At the time, their nanny there was cooking for them, semovita, and they were almost about done. No problem. They will buy food for them. And they took the children. That was how the children stayed from almost 48 hours they have not eaten. Bye. After giving them money, one of their tire went down. The commissioner bought a new tire for them, and we moved. We arrived Kano around 1 o'clock midnight. It was 1st January. I will never forget because people were not asleep. They were just blowing things in the air. I know, Happy New Year everywhere. And that was when the children were separated from me at the quarters. The children were taken to Nasarawa children's home. And I was put back in my police cell. And they made a promise to me that they are going to release the children. But up till as I'm speaking to you, 7 are still there with the dead David.
So altogether on that day, there were, you said 9 in Kano and 8 in Kaduna. So the number of children that were taken was 8, 27 in all?
27, yeah. 19 in Kano, 8 in Kaduna.
Okay. And of these children that were taken from you, how many of them have been released?
If you minus 20, the manner and way they were released were actually funny.
Okay, go ahead. Tell us, how were they released?
Yes, the first set were released by Khan. They were released to Khan by Women Affairs after much pressure. They abandoned 2 in the hospital, one with sickle cell anemia and the other have low blood count. They abandoned those ones in the private hospital, and the private hospital called us to pick those ones up. And then later again, they released one that is a graduate. We have 3 overage there. They didn't know that she is a degree holder. They saw her stature was very little, so they thought she is a minor. And then we have one Mike. Mike is above, at that time he was above 18. And we have a married one with her baby of 3 months amongst them. She came for holidays in Kano, and she was joined with the children of Kano down to the Nasarawa home. And then lastly, 13th of August last year, after the consent judgment, one of our girls there got tired of that place. She was going like psychologically bad. And she packed her things and moved. And then we had a call. And then our lawyer said my wife should come down to Kano because of the girl's issue. So my wife actually had to talk to the lawyer to delegate my brother, who represents us always in court, to follow so that they can release the children. So when they went to the Nasra home with the girl that left, others also complained that they want to leave. That was when they released other 7 with her. So of the 8 that were released, 3 of them have gotten admission into Polytechnic here in Jos. 1 has gotten a veterinary institute here in Vom. 2 are about writing their JAM now. They are registered with a school. And then we have one other one in JSS. She was formerly taken to Katsina, Jibia, to school in an Arabic school. When she came, it was Arabic. And then we have one that is just young, is around 9, 10, is in primary school. So this was how they released the 8. And 8 remained until David died. So there are 7 there now.
Okay, let's take a step back to what happened. After, from the police station, you were taken to court and convicted.
Yes,
what happened?
I was taken. Yes, initially they took me to magistrate court. By law, that is not right because the previous case we had with them, they took me to magistrate and higher court. They have no jurisdiction to take me to a lower court after taking me to a higher court. That's the law. So, but they took me there and charged me to pay 5 million naira and to bring a secretary from the federal government. At that time, my brother was able to talk to Boss Mustafa, but he was not around at the time. So there was nobody. I remained there before I think our lawyer countered the matter. And I stayed close to about 10 months in prison, almost about 11 months in prison. Yeah, because they actually charged me for abduction of minor and kidnapping minor. With the certificate issued to me by the Women Affairs, is with me. They said it's a fake certificate. So I remained there in prison and
okay, let me ask you. When they took you to court, what happened in court?
Yeah, the judgment went on, and that very day they passed the judgment. Initially, they referred the case from that ministry. They said that my lawyer advised that I should not go back to the police cell. They prefer me to go to prison because that's what they want. So my lawyer told them that they took me straight to prison, Kumawa, and not the one we went in 2001. The one we went in 2001 was Gorundus. That was a tough prison, but this one is Kumawa, the new one, near the Emir's Palace. So I was taken there, and that was where they were taking me to court, and so many times. Times they'll put me in chains and put blue prison wears for me to go there like a criminal. For so many times before I was actually released on bail. And it was a lady that my wife used to, at the time, buy chicken from her, and we got to know each other very well because she's a good sister. So she gave her property of land, her papers, before I was actually bailed. So when I was bailed, I stayed quite some time at home and then attend court again. They now charged me again in court for falsifying a certificate, which I didn't falsify. They took me to prison for falsification of certificate. And I was in prison there. I spent almost 9 to 10 months again, I think, or 11 months. Altogether, it's about 2 years with the previous imprisonment.
What certificate were you said to have falsified?
Initially, Buhari gave us a lot of rice, a lot of mosquito, so many things. And we are told by customs to bring certificate from Women Affairs to authenticate our being fully registered. Initially, we have a certificate of incorporation, which we did, and that is the highest incorporated trustees. That is even enough for Kano State to even know that we are a legal organization. And while in court, they said that certificate I acquired from them is a false certificate. I paid 5,000. Their receipt as exhausted. And they told me to come after, I think, on Monday. It was on Thursday I went there. They said I should come on Monday and get a receipt. They would try and see how they can get it. Thank God I transferred the money through bank account. And so the evidence was there. I gave my lawyer. So I before the Monday, I was arrested. So there was no how I could have given the certificate because I wouldn't have gone to jail. So they used that to rope me. After that, I was there in the cell for quite some time, and I heard from my lawyer that they have a court concerning my case. They've taken the case to Court of Appeal. And that was where Justice Mbamba discharged and acquitted me by telling them that if they don't produce that woman, her name is Kubura Rankani Hajia. She was the one who signed that certificate in the presence of the commissioner's messenger and one of our office staff. They were all witnesses. But they did not produce her in court because that was my cry at the time. I said, our lawyer should make sure they bring her in. So in the Court of Appeal, the judge asked for her, and he said, if they will not produce her, I will be acquitted and discharged now. That was when my lawyer came in to the prison and told me that I am free. He came with my wife.
Okay, if you understand your narration,
Yes.
You were the one that appealed against the conviction by the court in Kano.
Come again, sir?
The court in Kano convicted you, am I right?
Yes, they convicted me for 2 years, 3 years in prison, or I should pay 50,000 fine to reduce the sentence to 2 years. So my lawyer paid 50,000, and I was to serve 2 years.
Okay. They convicted you for falsification of your registration certificate.
Yes.
Okay, and now you appealed to the Court of Appeal,
Yes.
which discharged and acquitted you.
Correct.
And when you came back, you have been struggling to get the children released from court, from the custody of the Kano State government. What is the progress?
Yes, definitely. You know that once the court, the reason why they took the children from me was for safekeeping. As Women Affairs said, that police gave them the children for safekeeping, pending when the court authenticates the originality of the home and my staying with the children. So since I've been acquitted and the children were supposed to be brought to me, they didn't. That was why we began another pursuit of the case again from one court to the other. I think we've changed courts about 2 or 3 times. The first judge said he couldn't handle the matter. He doesn't know about the matter. One of the judge again said he is on holiday, he's on vacation. So he will not handle our case. Let us take it to another court. Before we took it to court 20, High Court 20. And we started all over. Till today. This is
Okay,
2019.
it was in that High Court that it was in that last court that the state government now entered, sought for consent judgment.
Actually, it's in the court.
Yes.
The judge himself, yes, the judge have asked us for a long time to settle out of court. I've done all I could to go to the ministry. Emmanuel Gebe and Reverend Delvin have also followed us to Women Affairs 2 or 3 times. And we settled the matter that they were going to handle not only to hear that for it to be done, we have to design the letter. So we allowed them to do it. Initially, we are to design the letter to give to their lawyer to countersign after our lawyer have signed. But we allowed them to do it so that we can. So based on the clauses, there are some false clauses, but actually it did not affect us. Because what they said is that any child that is above, one of the clauses is that any child that is above 18 that have turned to Muslim is not leaving that place. And I so much believe that there's nothing like that. If they are able to go by that, all our children will come back. No one will want to remain there. We heard from the little ones that they've been threatening the small ones to become Muslims and to tell them that they won't come. That's why, because they can't help themselves, the little ones. That's why some of them are there. But when their seniors left, they cried bitterly. That was what we were told.
So you are saying all these things about religion, that the Kano State government seeks to turn them from
yes, it is all about
Christians
religion
to Muslims.
All boils down to religious persecution.
Prof, now what is your hope? One of the students, one of your children died. My sympathies about
we believe in God
that what is the condition? Do you know
right now
the conditions of the children
since
that
they've
still
withdrawn,
how they are now, how they are faring?
Burying of David in their Islamic way from the juvenile court. They actually took the case to juvenile court. So they've withdrawn. We don't have a case on that matter. But with the High Court, what we are pursuing now is the issue of the consent judgment, which they violated. The court have asked them to release all the children on the 19th of March, 2025. And they promised us, initially the Commissioner of Women Affairs refused and said that she had gone to meet the governor, and the governor have changed the person to actually supervise the process, that they brought in the attorney. And the attorney, when asked, he said he's going to Mecca at that period. When he comes back from Mecca, he would deal. So when he came back, he would deal with the issue. When he came back from Mecca, he did not, he only wrote, he wrote that the case will have to be started afresh. There's no longer any judgment. The case will start afresh. After all, you were not even the Attorney General, and the case has been there for almost 6 years, and you're telling us that we should start afresh again? That is killing. So that's the situation we've been there. But now, as I'm telling you, sir, what is being expected in the court is just the issue of disobedience to court contempt, period.
Okay. You are asking the court to convict the Kano State government of contempt of court for refusing to obey the consent judgment that whose content the Kano State government drafted.
Yes, sir. There's a lot in regards to that. Whoever contempted the court should be jailed or pay a fine. It should be.
Okay. Now, Prof, let's go back to your personal life. How did you start? What came to your mind when you started this orphanage ministry? What was on your mind? Why did you go into it?
Initially, sir, I was a professional footballer. I think I played quite a lot of clubs. And when God called me, I was playing in the top league with Naples. I was then with also NSCB, Football Club Kaduna. And I decided to give my life to Christ, and I joined CF. I retired. I resigned my appointment from Postal and Telecommunication, NIPOS, officially. They were even begging me to come. I said, no, I have a calling. So I had to join CF with headquarters in Missouri in US. So I was with the headquarters in Kaduna. And then later, I resigned from football. I stopped playing football. And later went with my wife. That was when I got married. That very year, I got married 3 months later. And we moved with my wife to Yola. Yola was something else. Madam couldn't, with early pregnancy, couldn't hold up. That we had to leave because of mosquitoes and heat in Adamawa. So I was posted to Kano. Kano was where we began to see cases. We only go to teach children the Bible in goodness clubs, in their churches, trained teachers, and so many other things. Along the line, we came in contact with poor children from different places. So we became moved with my wife, not just giving them the gospel alone, helping to take care of the ones that are orphaned and those whose parents either have single parent or so. And that came into us. After some time, we sat down with my wife, prayed about it, and I sent my resignation to the headquarters in Kaduna. I was not released because at a period, they really loved my service. While there, temporarily, an organization came again. Somebody referred me to an organization in United Kingdom, in Oxford. They call them Viva Network. They take care of child care workers and displaced children and children, orphans and vulnerable children. And I was able to work with them temporarily before I waited for my letter from the headquarters of the resignation, or that they accept. At the time, I was not doing anything. I only sat down about 6 months, from January to June. And I continued with Viva Network. That was where I was able to go to Niger Republic. I visited some town like Uganda. I was in South Africa. At the time, I was the national director in Nigeria. They asked us to change the name, country change. Like South Africa, Viva Network in South Africa is Arise. In Uganda is Crane Kampala. In Nigeria is Mediator. I gave that name. So after some time, the work became cumbersome for my wife. I had to resign from that work and join her fully. That was when we were in Freetown. We then moved into no man's land, and by the grace of God, here we are.
Okay, you recently moved your ministry back to Jos. I mean to Jos, not back to Jos. What are the differences that you have observed between your work in Jos and the work in Kano?
It has a lot of challenges. Number one, why we were in Kano, and while that case was going on, rumors have spreaded through the social media, what have you. So a lot of people have heard that we are trafficking children because NAPTIC ports involved, that we are selling children. That's bad news. And that actually wasn't true. People who work with us knew us very well. And thank God for a lot of people who have been churches that know me. That was the beginning of lack of support, actually, financially, materially. We had no problem when before this case came. If you talk of food, we even share to widows in churches. We have close to about 500 bags of rice. Indomie to about 200-300 cartons. We have to share it to widows, because that would be too much for us to even pack in the store. So when this thing came up, we lost a lot of partners that support financially monthly, those that pay children's school fees. So we just have to manage and get in. That was when we were advised to start up what they call business advice. I learned this through the work I did with Viva Network in South Africa. We are taught how to raise some business to help the children. And that can be also, you can get some skills from there, like poultry farming. We actually had birds before, layers and broilers. But now we can't put broilers because a broiler now is about 3,700. And if we need 1,000 broilers, we need close to 10 million to feed them just for some few months before they start laying eggs. So that has been the one. Now we do layers. Broilers. Broilers takes up to 2 weeks, 7 weeks or 8 weeks. Then we sell. This has been what has been helping us here in Jos. If not, we have just had few. I have not been getting regular support except from the governor and some few other people who knew us from Kano. I used to either and some senior friends and so on, sir.
Okay, let me ask you, in all the time that you spent in Kano, how many children will you recall passed through your hand?
And the last time I counted, there were 123, with the exception of those we handed over. I think we handed over close to about 46. Those that police will bring for like 3 days with us, and they will report to the office, and then they will come after 3 days after we've checked them in the hospital, and we'll return the children to them. Parents that we've reconciled with the daughters, teenage daughters that gave birth, we're able to reconcile some of the girls to their parents, and they will collect the children. So these are part of those ones. The ones I know, the ones that are married.
Okay, so the ministry was not just about orphans, we're also about children that were running away from their homes, and you also did reconciliation with their parents.
Yes, we have one particular one which happened last year. She's here now. She's in GSS 3. The biological mom is around, but I think they divorced with the dad. So the girl runs away. She became a street girl and no longer stay in the house. So, but when we were able to get her information, my wife was able to reach to her family. The parent consented. The girl said she's not going to stay in the house, but agreed. When she came and tested the home in Kano, she loved the home, and she's here today and doing well.
Okay, maybe the concern of the Kano State government, the concern of the Kano State government might have been that you were taking Muslim children into your orphanage. Were there Muslim children also in your orphanage?
What you said is quite true, because even while I was there in the police station, they were saying it before my eyes that they were speaking in Hausa. They saw me. They thought I am a different tribe. I don't understand Hausa. So they were saying it that they should look at the children, because the children were standing with me there. Most of the children are their children. They look Hausa. How will you know that a child is Hausa by just looking at his face? So, but that's ignorance. But if I would tell you, there is no child in there that happened to be a Muslim, except some Hausa children that their parents converted in rural areas, not us. They call them Maguzawa. You know those people. They are not even Muslims. They have their belief. They call them Isawa. There's a new belief system in Kano there. They call them Isawa. They were white. They do like Muslims, and they do like Christians. So his parents were part of them. He was going blind. He was about 3 years when they brought him to me. He graduated from BUK. He got married in my house. He's married now. And not only him, the other one now has a very big showroom furniture. One of his cousins, Umar, when he saw what the transformation in his cousin in the village, he'll be speaking English. He now teaches. He's the headmaster in their school now from BUK. So the family were so impressed. So they had to send many children from the village, and they came to us. That was how we have Hawa. She's married to a pastor now. She also from that village. She finished read economics in BUK. We have Hajara. Hajara also finished from BUK. We have Ibrahim. Ibrahim is in Ilfana here in BUK. They are all from that village. With Danny also finished. Danny actually is into fish business, and he sells into animal production. He's in Kaduna. He's also married. So these are part of what, we thank God, sir. It's been quite some time. They were very small when they came, but today most of them are married with their children.
So looking at your work now, if you look back at the work you have done, how satisfied are you with the work you have done?
Definitely, it's something that if you see your son after nurturing him when he was little, if you see him back, big, married, with children, coming to visit you, you'll be so happy. So I'm really happy with their lives, because most of them are independent. They can stand on their own. And we have like Ayuba in the US. He has 4 children. He's married to a white. He grew in the home. And today, once in a while, he will just call, like he surprises me and the mom. He will send close to ₦1 million for the children's school. And that's something you have to be happy about. That you have a child that cares for his own genius. A child that grew in your own home, and your own child that knows that he also have his own genius in the house that he needs to support. And I started gradually with him from police football. When I was coaching police, he played for Wiki Tories, Bauchi. I took him there to Kano Pillars, and then to America in Michigan, where he played for the university. And today he's a master's degree holder and working with his wife with 4 kids. That's impressive.
If you had to look at your life now, would you say that you made a wise choice?
Yeah, of course. I have no regret. I'm giving back to the society, not just the society. I'm giving back to the lives of children. And many of them have been liberated. Many are still being liberated. So I don't regret it at all. At all. What our prayer should be is that we should have much money in the bank to be able to pay for these school fees, buy this you want to eat, not when it comes to the time that they need school fees of food, they will be writing people, talking to people, this shouldn't be. The church need to know, yes, this is what we're going to give freely. That's just the bottom line.
Okay, in Jos now, the orphanage you have in Jos, how many children do you have there?
All of them are 30, including there should be 37 now with late David.
Okay, the ones in Kano and the ones in Jos, altogether about 37.
Yes, we brought them all together. We are in Jos. The Ganduje demolished Kaduna orphanage, while we my wife moved finally this January with all the children and the properties. They came down here to Jos.
Okay, you said Governor El Rufai demolished the orphanage in Kano. Did they pay you compensation? In Kaduna, did they pay you compensation?
He didn't.
Did he seize the land from you?
No. The land, actually, the house belonged to someone that gave it to us. And I was in prison. My wife was the one she went to visit them there with the coordinator in Kaduna. And the police initially from beginning, we are trying to get my wife to lock her up. So my wife had been hiding from one place to other with our children that have been married. That's the younger, the first generation orphanage girls and boys that have been married. My wife had been running from one to the other because the police were looking for her to lock her up with me. So when our lawyer heard about it, he had to actually write a court. So a letter was issued that the police should not near where she is up to 100 yards. A restriction order.
Okay. So the owner of the house in Kaduna lost his house simply for allowing you to use his house to keep orphans.
Yes, they've been in court. They've been in court with
All right. Thank you very much for your time. Let's leave it there.
You're welcome.
I hope that God will continue to help your work as you go ahead. Once again, thank you for viewing. We've been speaking with Professor Solomon Musa Tarfa, a social worker by profession whose orphanages were closed down in Kano and Kaduna. He was jailed and the Court of Appeal acquitted him. Thank you, Prof, for the time you spent with us.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.